You think you know Robby Layton, the YouTube guy who fixes cars, the one with the cool shop and infectious energy? 500,000 subscribers watch him transform wrecked vehicles into masterpieces. But there's a side to his story that never makes it into the videos. A night that almost destroyed everything. A family situation that's way more complicated than it appears, and projects so emotionally heavy they'd break most people. This is what they don't tell you about Robby Layton, and once you hear it, you'll never watch his content the same way again. August 2018, 10 p.m., Layton Auto Body in Ephraim, Utah. Robby's employees were grinding away on a demolition derby car for the upcoming Sanpete County Fair. The shop was buzzing with activity, tools clanging, sparks flying. Then everything went wrong. The truck they were working on suddenly backfired, and flames erupted from the engine. One employee bolted toward the fire extinguisher, but in his panic, he tripped over a gas can sitting on the floor. The gas spilled, and the fire found it instantly. Within seconds, what started as a small engine fire became an inferno. Neighbors heard an explosion that shattered the quiet Utah night. By the time the Ephraim Volunteer Fire Department arrived, the entire building was engulfed in flames. They fought the blaze for 6 straight hours, battling until 4 a.m. Thursday morning, but it was already too late. The shop was a total loss. 9 customer vehicles inside were destroyed. Years of equipment, tools, and machinery melted into twisted metal. 2 neighboring businesses suffered smoke and water damage. Miraculously, nobody was injured, but Robby stood there watching everything he'd built since 2010 turn to ash. Most people would have seen this as the end. The insurance claims, the customer lawsuits, the rebuilding costs. It would have been easier to walk away. But Robby had a decision to make, and what happened next would define everything. Instead of disappearing, Robby did something unexpected. He started filming. While the rubble was still smoking, he began documenting the entire rebuild process on YouTube. Most creators would have hidden this failure, but Robby turned his darkest moment into content. The videos showing the destroyed shop, the emotional aftermath, the slow reconstruction struck a chord with people. His subscriber count, which had been growing slowly since he started posting in 2013, suddenly exploded. People weren't just watching for the car restorations anymore, they were watching a man refuse to quit. By 2022, he'd hit over 250,000 subscribers. By 2024, that number doubled to over 500,000, with more than 173 million total views. The fire that should have ended his career actually launched it to new heights. But here's what people don't realize. That night fundamentally changed him. In interviews, Robby's talked about standing there watching the flames and having this strange, almost detached feeling. Everything he'd worked for was gone. And in that moment, he understood something most people never learn until it's too late. Nothing you build is permanent. Everything can vanish in 6 hours. That knowledge haunted him, but it also freed him. He started taking bigger risks, accepting crazier projects, and saying yes to opportunities he would have turned down before. The fire didn't just destroy his shop, it destroyed his fear. The Golden Nugget project came at the perfect time. In 2021, Matt from Matt's Off-Road Recovery, one of the biggest automotive channels on YouTube, reached out with an insane proposition. His friend Ed, an old-school gold miner, had this beat-to-hell 1970s Suzuki LJ20 that he'd been using for decades on his California gold claim. The truck was absolutely trashed, rusted through, barely holding together. Matt wanted Robby to restore it as a surprise for Ed. This wasn't just another restoration job. This was a chance to collaborate with a channel that had millions of subscribers and create something that would be seen by the entire automotive YouTube community. Robby said yes immediately. The project was massive. He later revealed that if he'd billed for all the work properly, it would have cost over $82,500. But he knew what this meant for his channel and his reputation. The Golden Nugget restoration videos became some of his most popular content ever. One video alone pulled over 1.2 million views. The collaboration introduced him to Matt's entire fan base and solidified his reputation as one of the best in the business. When they finally unveiled the finished truck to Ed, it became this legendary moment in the automotive YouTube world. But the Golden Nugget did something else too. It proved Robby could handle the big leagues And suddenly, other channels wanted to work with him. The fire might have given him his start, but the golden nugget made him a name. Behind all the success and the viral videos, there's a family situation most viewers know nothing about. Robby's married to Robby Layton. They tied the knot on May 27, 2017, and together they have a daughter, Adley Kay, born in June 2018, just 2 months before the shop fire. Robby works as the shop secretary, keeping everything running behind the scenes. They seem like the perfect family in the videos, taking vacations, celebrating birthdays, living the dream. But here's what doesn't get talked about. Robby has 2 sons from a previous relationship, Braden, born in 2010, and Riker, born in 2012. Their mother's identity has never been publicly confirmed, though some online speculation points to a woman named Jessica Layton, based on old social media. Robby frequently posts about his boys, sharing videos and photos, but the details of that first relationship remain a mystery. Blending families isn't easy, especially when you're running a business and managing a YouTube channel with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. The pressure of being a public figure while protecting your kids' privacy, maintaining relationships with an ex, and building a new family is something most people can't imagine. Robby makes it look effortless in the videos, but anyone who's lived through a similar situation knows the truth. It's complicated, messy, and requires constant balance. Yet he keeps showing up, keeps posting, keeps pushing forward. In 2022, Robby took on a project that would test everything he'd learned about loss and resilience. His team had been called out for a vehicle recovery. A Chevy truck had gone off a cliff in a remote area, and they successfully pulled it out. In the initial video, they mentioned the driver had survived the crash, but 2 days later, everything changed. The driver passed away from a heart attack, likely caused by the trauma from the accident. Robby found himself holding the keys to a mangled truck that represented the last moments of a father's life. Most people would have scrapped it, but Robby made a decision that shocked his community. He announced they were going to fully restore the truck and give it to the man's son, not sell it. Give it. They put all the proceeds from their merchandise store toward the build, refusing to profit from the tragedy. The project was emotionally brutal. Every panel they straightened, every part they replaced, they knew this wasn't just a truck. It was a son's last connection to his father. The restoration took months, and Robby documented parts of it, but you could see the weight in his eyes. This wasn't about views or subscribers. Some forum users questioned the decision, saying they should have just bought the kid a new truck instead of rebuilding something so damaged. But they missed the point entirely. That truck, with all its rebuilt pieces, carried the story. It was proof that even the most broken things can be made whole again. 7 years after the fire, Robby Layton runs one of the most successful automotive channels on YouTube. His net worth sits somewhere between $536,000 and $751,000, built through his shop, his channel, and his merchandise empire. He's collaborated with the biggest names in the automotive world and created content that's been viewed over 173 million times. On paper, he's living the dream. But success always costs something. The late nights in the shop mean missed family dinners. The pressure to constantly create content means his personal life is never fully private. The emotional projects like the truck restoration take pieces of you that don't grow back. And underneath it all, there's still that kid who watched his entire shop burn to the ground in 2018, who learned that everything you build can disappear before sunrise. That knowledge never leaves you. Maybe that's why Robby works the way he does, taking on impossible projects and pushing himself beyond what's reasonable. When you've already lost everything once, you stop being afraid of losing it again. His story isn't just about fixing cars or building a YouTube empire. It's about what happens when you refuse to let tragedy define you, when you turn your darkest moments into fuel, and when you choose to keep building even though you know it could all burn down tomorrow. That's the part they don't tell you about Robby Layton, and honestly, that's the part worth knowing.